and environment. Since 2020, he has been actively participating as an advisory of Interfaith Rainforest Initiative of Indonesia, IRI. He is currently member of reference group of World Council of Churches with WCC and Program Committee of Christian Conference of Asia (CCA). So about maybe I will give the thing about what we talk about is about moral and environment. Uh, he reference Jimmy wrote that various efforts to overcome the climate crisis are being carried out by many groups, including religious groups. One of the targets for this global crisis is reduce deforestation and maintain the world forest under the UNEP program called the Interfaith Rainforest Initiative. 5 countries were selected to be pilot for this program, one of which is Indonesia, as the lungs of world. IRI Indonesia began and developed differently from the other 4 countries, one of which is with more religious plurality, and its leadership has been carried out directly by national religious councils involving alliances of indigenous peoples, academic, and environmental activists. Our program and approach like this effective? How has IRI Indonesia experienced this movement since it was declared in 2022 and 2020? This presentation will review the obstacles and challenges that religious groups in Indonesia have been facing in efforts to protect tropical forests based on the experience of the national platform. For reference, Jimmy, the time is yours.
Good afternoon. Thank you for introducing me, brother Afkar. Mari. Yeah, first of all, this is a privilege for me to be here and to get a chance to present my thoughts and based on my experiences. And I'm really sorry if my English will be rusty after 15 years living CRCS, my beloved campus, and join the activism movement. And for your information that I'm now based in Jakarta. In 3 months, I'm serving a congregation here near Malioboro, actually it's Malioboro. So feel free to catch up or ask me for treatment, something. Field trip also at the Malioboro Church, the oldest one there. It's like Dutch heritage, and I'm I'm senior pastor there. I don't know whether I will just stay there for normal period. The normal one is 5 years, or just like the abnormal, the non-normal, the unconference, abnormal one. Okay. Yeah. So this is my presentation. We will start from the basic understanding by the religious leaders and also communities after facing the problems of the global warming and later on the climate crisis, that the root of the problems is about the sin. So for the other people, the religious communities who don't believe in sin, so they say that the sin and greed also the same for the Christian, for instance. Greed comes from the sin, because after people and Eve fell down, to the scene, the greedy happen. Greedy people happen. Both of them being greed. And the greed itself is a problem of the morality. So the community, religious communities, believe that this is about the moral degradation that happen in the people's life, whether they are believers or not. And because that's morality or the moral degradation, moral issues, so we believe, because I'm part of it, that's also domain of the religious institutions as the moral keepers. That's the quote unquote. You can do also the same for the morality, of course, whether you are not the believers or religious. Oh, I don't know. Yeah. So we are not really proud of us, of ourselves. But this is also because after a long journey and also the theological foundation, that we see that all the destruction and crisis, socio-ecological crisis that happen in the world happen because of the sin and also the greed. This is the problem of democracy. And after being proceed by many institutions to face or overcome the problem of the global crisis, let's say the climate crisis right now, the term that has been used. These groups, the non-religious groups, perceive that the religious groups are important to be engaged in the movement because they see that or they perceive based on some interviews or their testimonies that the problem of morality really the basic of the problem. And the others say that because we found ourselves, we couldn't do this by ourselves and by the methods. We need to engage more people, more religious believer or religious groups, because one, they are the stakeholders. Two, because they have the capacity to influence and mobilize people to change their lifestyle, the way they perceive the earth or the environment, and so on and so forth. So I put the two words there, the neglected entity, because before the 1 or 2 decades ago, the religious communities were not being perceived as important. They are just really, what is it? Some people say ridiculous. Religious communities, yeah. And also they are just very politics of identities. They are just being rude and so on and so forth. And some issues, the global movement try to engage with the community, the religious communities, are the hot issues that we have been observing so far that the national or the international organization that come to Indonesia or the other places in this world, they try to bring these issues about forests, about the land of this earth, and the problem of the massive deforestation and violation of indigenous people's rights. The second one about water, the source and main component of life and its sustainability. So the main component of sustainability. That's also because we are seeing and experiencing the problem of the crisis of clean water, not only in other part of the world, also in Indonesia. The third one is about waste, overpopulation and overconsumption. And the problem in Indonesia especially, we find that ourselves can see in Jakarta, the problem the unmanaged waste impacts the ecosystems, whether people or the other later. Yeah. The fourth one is about energy. The scarcity of natural resources and or fossil fuel energy cause the crisis energy that demands energy transition and lifestyle change. Um, I think this is because of the presentation, but without any other activities like this, we need to just open a bit of the lamp to just reduce the use of energy. For instance, like that, the life change, that we are being sensitive about the, and in communion of churches in Indonesia that I observed that we've already started how to use all the energy, also water, and also the other parts of the uh, environmental issues that we try to change our theology, but also the way uh, we live among the other believers. Although not always like smooth, but it's been almost two decades, I think. The church under the Communion of Churches in Indonesia has started. And for the forest, because we are specifically talking about forest now, the problem of the massive deforestation that happened in the world also happened in Indonesia. Indonesia has second biggest forest in the world, the tropical forest now, that is in Kalimantan and Papua, actually. But Kalimantan has been decreased very radical. The data say that from the BPS that from 1960s to 2023, from 80% of the land cover, the forest, changed to 49%. I think the number is already reduced from 23 to 25. So this is our problem. That is why, as the problem, the common problem, UN Environmental Program initiated a program or project of a big and international program that namely Interfaith Rainforest Initiative. They selected 5 countries as the pilot project or pilot programs: Brazil, Peru, and Colombia, because those countries they have the same the land cover, namely Amazon forest, as the first or the biggest forest in the world, and then also Democratic Republic of Congo, and the last one is Indonesia. It, it was launched in 2017, and in Indonesia we launched it in 2020. In Indonesia, we have like a unique method or unique situation that the eye of Indonesia, we consisted of national religious councils, academics, interfaith and environmental activists. Those countries, the other 4, they didn't happen like that. They don't have that kind of institutions. They move with that, but with the like NGOs movement. I mean, initiated by an office under some interfaith. I mean, not the religious leaders, but just like the other offices, and then they start the issue the interfaith one. So these are different. The leadership happened in Indonesia by the religious leader. This is the first advisory council of IRA Indonesia. So we can see that from the Muslim Council, we have the representative from the Nahdlatul Ulama, Muhammadiyah, PGI, or Council of Churches, Bishop Conference of Indonesia, Hindus, Buddhists, Confucian, Religion for that was represented by Prof. Din Samsudin, and from the Indigenous People Alliance, the national by Abdul Nababan. And academician, we have also the academics. We have Dr. Fahrudin, Prof. Bambang Hero, who are well known in the issue of forest and its advocacy. And the other also NGOs representative. So in IRI of Indonesia, we have some programs. And we start from the resources for the religious leaders. After we gather them, we gather the religious leaders and try to communication with those people, those groups and councils. We also produce the educational resources. The goal is to raise awareness and motivate practical action against deforestation while advocating for the rights of indigenous communities. It understands the moral obligation to protect rainforests within the teachings of Islam, Protestantism, Catholicism, Hinduism, Buddhism, Confucianism. We are sorry that I fought for the what we call it Panghayat, but MLKU at the time we couldn't find that they can represent all the faith or local religions at the time. And also we had a kind of a political debates among the council or CCI or PKB, the religious people from the local religion is a religion. And we use the interfaith, means that faith is iman, right? But iman for the other councils, groups, couldn't be the same with the religions. Iman is very individual. So what we try to, to translate it in Indonesia, interfaith means antar agama, not antar imam. So it was a big debate among us. We start from debate actually, how to put together all mainstreams based on the religious teachings, and then together sitting to talk about the not only dialogue to understand, but dialogue in actions. But before we do the action, we need to also deal with the first, whether the faith is religion or the faith is iman. So I at the time just here because it's too big for me. We need to just try together, move forward, not to just be stuck on that debate. And comprehensive resource books, for instance, we produce the 6th publication from IRI Global, offer in-depth background information, statistical data, and scientific evidence on rainforest in Indonesia and worldwide. Religious guidebooks convey religious moral and ethical principles on rainforest protection, supported by scientific evidence primarily drawn from the resource books. And also the preacher's book, Buku Khotbah, equip the religious leaders with scripts for delivering sermons to their congregation on the importance of forest protection. These books provide practical tools for spreading awareness and fostering action within religious communities. This is the example of the displays, and you can also download it for free at our platform website. And these are the educational videos also done by religious leaders, senior religious leaders. Oh, I'm very proud of myself because I was the one there. The senior religious leader represented Christian in Indonesia. Wow. And we have also chapters. We have chapters Papua all over Papua lands. Now we have 6 provinces, if I'm not mistaken. And we already have chapters there, North Molucas, we have chapter there, West, sorry, East Kalimantan, we have chapter there, Aceh, we have chapter there, and Riau. Why we chose those provinces? Because they still have the greatest one in terms of the what is it, the scale that we perceive based on the data in the national and also the some NGOs that work with us. They also propose those provinces to be started as the starting point of the chapters. What is the chapters? Chapter means that like the branch of the national level. So we have the movement there among the religious believer and leaders. They work together on the forestation or the forestation problems on the tropical forest. And also we try to bridge them with indigenous people communities, like in Papua, in East Kalimantan, North Molucas, and the other provinces. We have training of trainer, how to use the preaching books, how to do the what is it, education, like teaching people to build their awareness about the forest. And we have audiences with the local government, provincial, city, or regencies. We have that kind of audiences because we perceive that the policymakers are very important politically and also legally to protect the forest. Although in Konoha, it's not just like easy. Yeah, for Konoha, it's just like what? Please explain it. And we have like a stakeholders encounter. We met the indigenous communities. We met also the survivors, the people who are being discriminated and experience the injustice, the social ecological injustice. For instance, when we had a visit to IKN, the new capital city of Indonesia, we met those elders, and then we had like conversation, and based on the conversation, we brought the issues and recommendation to the authorita. What is the authorita of IKN? That's like division under president who are responsible to spark and to build the IKN, the new capital, under the new authorita. Well, that's the specific governance for the new capital. And then, based on the experiences, we now trying to find what the evaluation, I mean, like the review on those activities, whether the religious believers, councils, groups still matter, or just like the accessories to make the other donor happy, to make the other stakeholders happy, that we are also present in this movement, the global movement. We start from the first one, among the councils and also the other groups, let's say the academics is very great, but the councils and then also the indigenous people alliances, organizations, we have differences of the system in the organization. It caused the problem actually, because we have Marwah, what is it? Marwah. Please. Marwah. Dignity of our own organization that couldn't be interpreted by the other organization or other institution. For instance, when we try to react or respond for the problems, deforestation, let's say the food estate one, the name of the councils are very I mean, very, what is it, full of dignity. We couldn't just use the name of the council without asking permission from the leader. And if we ask the leader somehow we need to do that. I mean, we need to talk about that in a meeting first. So it takes time. The problem happens. We need the very like what is it, tactical, strategic response, but because of that differences, we couldn't move forward. I mean, rapidly. Us or what is it? We couldn't do the acceleration on this movement in this plan. And we are also depending on the budget because of the leaders, the leaders from the institutions, they are used with educating, leading the communities, but are not used to find money, to find the supporting system, what we call as capital and finance. But based on the IRI program, we have some budget, we have funding, but we couldn't do more over the funding. Except we try to move our business, not like the other four countries. We try to be just like them, big NGOs, the NGOs of environmental in Israel. So this is a challenge, whether we are trying to live that kind of uniqueness, or we try to just develop our program based on the movement of NGOs. So this is our situation right now. After Trump's trade and the others also, the funds just very down, decrease. And then we are trying to build a program, but we need also some funds to do that. This is the review. That happened also to other platforms that I have been observing. I don't want to name or tell the name, but some of the activities that engage or project that engage the religious communities happen, they depend on the budget. Without budget, the action stops. This is the challenge. Whether this is the problem of the community development that doesn't, happen well, or maybe because of the pragmatic situation that happened in our society already. The second one is the morality, commitment, and consistency in the political dynamics. You know, and you have been witnessing that the religious councils or religious leaders already engaged with the political dynamics. Yeah. That happened also in the environmental politics. 1 year or before the election, we know that some national councils have accepted the legal permits of the mining, the coal mines in Indonesia. In the local, some of us observe also that the leaders, religious leaders, the moral people's one, also main mata. Cheating. Yeah.
Playing out.
Cheat with the government and the business sector for the business extraction, the extraction business. Let's say the concession of the palm oil and the minings. They need also the religious leaders to protect, to ensure that they can also sustain their business, the extraction one. The big one from the church. Some churches in those concessions, near concessions, They got the office from that kind of business. Persepuluhan, what is persepuluhan? 10% of the income, yeah, supposed to offer to God. That also come from there. Some churches, the local one, they depend on their practical situation. Except I ever experienced that. I was in Anticum, near the palm oil concession, West Borneo. It's just like the border of Malaysia and Indonesia. The concession haven't tried to convince me to support them. Come, give your proposal for your church, for your Christian party. Christianity has many, what is it, big day, yeah? Christmas, Eid, Pentecost, and the others. Yeah, you can also, what is it, start your programs there and we can give you the CMR from there. I myself at the time tried to differentiate myself from the other religious leaders. I said no. And I never like provoked my congregation not to do the same like the other congregation. And I myself also provoked them to fight for their rights. Yeah, I was being provocative. That's why I was just humbled by the mafia of the concession. When I was just like serving my people during the night, people just like balloon at the back, just that giving me terror at the time, many times. But I myself already, what is it, wakaf. Always,
Islamic.
yeah. It's because I already, what is it? Bukan memberi devote myself, yeah, to be the environment lovers, yeah, rather than the money lovers. Saya sudah selesai dengan diri sendiri apa ya? I'm finished with myself. I'm done with those business. And the problem is the commitment, also the consistency, also how to make the people when they receive the awareness, the educational one. I mean, how to make the consistency happen. Since 2011, National Council of Churches, the headquarters, declared that the headquarters is zero plastic. Yeah. It also stimulate the other congregations, the other denominations under CCI or the churches. They also just like change their lifestyle, bringing the vacuum plants, the tumbler everywhere. But after years, it changed again. Blah blah blah. We need to just like, what is it, being like a bed, and we just like remind them again and again and again, but over and over, and it happens. They don't care. Some of the churches, but in some congregations. But some we have also like the success story, because the government, the local government, is the adherent or the member of the congregation. After knowing this kind of the movement, zero plastic one at the church or the quarter headquarter of the congregations or the synods, he was being influenced and he started creating the policies per book, the regions regulation, peraturan bupati, Minahasa, and in Minahasa, one of the regions. And the policies really changed the situation of the people there who have been eating a lot, but also just like waste a lot. Yeah, whether plastic or the food, yeah, food waste and the others. Based on the regulation, they stop doing that. So this is one of the success story because of this movement from the perspective and the program of the religious communities. It also influenced the policymakers. Because the policymakers are also members of church, member of Muslim organization, members of Buddhist organization, and so we can influence them. The fourth one, people mobilization and fundamental theology. I haven't seen any social mobilization from the religious institution or created, initiated by the religious institution to their members or people, except the demonstration, the very small one. There is no massive movement. I haven't seen that, if I'm not mistaken, by the religious communities, except in some local one, based on the local, very particular issue. For instance, like in Toba Pulp Lestari in Lake Toba, because of the pulp industry, and the Batak Church at the time, because they had some activists. The activists really push the people to do the big demonstration, and after that, it changed the story of the business changed. Although they again later on they changed the name and then the business happened again. That's for me. But the people mobilization is very lack the lackness of people mobilization. We know the change supposed to start by the mobilization, if in my understanding, for the society. And I have I have observed some academics have produced the theological perspective based on the sea, on forest, on the land, and the others, but I haven't seen those theologies really energize people to do the liberation. That is why I think we need a liberation theology based on this current context or situation. We can build a theology, grounded one, but I think it's just like useless. I'm not too much if I use it useless, but I think it's not optimized if it's that doesn't energize people. We admit also that Interfaith Rainforest Initiative has tried or started to do this, that engage activists, business people, community, people, government, and media, but it's not like really, it has been effective yet. Because just like, because based on the funding, based on the project, based on the program, not like the regular one. But we already have that kind of perspective. That's the good one. 5 minutes left? Okay. And the business one, we found that the green business is just still very rare in Indonesia. When we went to the west or the east, Kalimantan, we only just embrace some business people, the green one, but there was still hundreds or even thousands of business. They are not very sensitive with the ecology or issue. The last one, this is about theology, your fourth curriculum. In my understanding, theology may define our society or ecology, and its dynamics. That is why there is a need to build, also to embody, energize, to push people based on the theologies to create a massive socio-ecological justice in Indonesia. Why? Because preserving or conserving, protecting the forests and the other ecosystems without this is just an absurd thing. Absurd. We are talking about the interfaith dialogue just to reach the peace, neglecting the justice, which is also an absurd one. We need to start from the fundamental one, liberating theory for this global movement and also the local and national movement. Thank you.
Actually, you will skip one slide about intergenerational and digital
Oh,
education. Maybe you can.
yeah. Oh,
You know?
I'm getting old. Yeah, these are also, this one also the one that we ourselves perceive important. And IRA of Indonesia also perceive important. Since 2024, we already started building the youth, green youth or the ecological movement by the youth, IRA youth, and they named themselves later on, I forget the name, as the platform of the youth interfaith one in Jakarta and its periphery. But the problem is, it's not really like putting this thing or this issue as the main one. Many organizations, religious organizations, haven't seen that the young people, especially, as the spear, as the front line or the frontier of any movement right now. They're still like, okay, we need you, but we decide. It still happens. The oldest, I'm sorry, but France, I'm not saying about all the old people, the baby boomers one, or the X ones, but many religious communities or institutions still perceive the intergenerational issue as not important. I mean, just like the secondary or the third priority for their movement or program. My church myself, my church, GPIB, the Western or the Protestant Church in Western Indonesia, we already started last year to put intergenerational in our pemahaman iman, what is it? Our theology and also our ecclesiology. Started, we tried hard to develop it. I don't know the other institution, but we already tried it last year. And the digital engagement. Although we already built our social media, but it's not really engaging the young people and the other also other segment categories. This is our problem because also due the fund and also due to the conception about the digital engagement and also the intergenerational engagement. Although I was chairing the Interfaith Rainforest Initiative and the chair since 2022, actually it's the presidium one, the method. Every year we change. But those religious actors, the top one, they always ask me to be the chair, or be the chair, do that again. But thing like this about the perception, we need to debate anything. We need also that kind of space, of course, the room to debate anything because that's healthy. But in terms of the program, it's not like accelerating the program, but growing the program. So it's now our decision whether we are going to change our management to be like pure NGOs, pure organization, and the other religious leaders just follow the program, or still the religious leaders leading and managing also the programs. Thank you, bro.
Okay, thank you very much. About the religious individual and organization to influence the environmentalism in Indonesia. Okay, we have still many times. So for any question and maybe question like interference. Okay. Oh, okay, and maybe two more. Any Mike and also who else? Okay, the Mike and
Thank you very much, Mas Jimmy. And I appreciate your presentation very much, and like your comments about the financing of ERI, the Interfaith Force Initiative. As you know, I just concluded the formative research on religion, ecology, sustainability, and conservation in Indonesia, which as you know, incorporated the idea of sustainable financing in the issue of faith and ecology. So, and I met your donor from Indonesia, Econusa, sorry, at the Small Room in Oxford. And as you know, ISER is a partner in Brazil, and ISER is funded by the Ford Foundation. And so my question is, in terms of the sustainable financing, how do you see ERI having a stable financing mechanism? I mean, is the problem because of the organization, because of the fragmentation, because of the non-formal attachment to this institution, or what? And then the second part of the question is, you mentioned the support among the Christians. Of course, in Islam, we have is this one we call it, right? Zakat, infaq, sadaqah, waqf, endowment, and also sukuk, Islamic bonds. And all of these mechanisms, financial mechanisms, can now be used and utilized for environmental purposes, right? And I'm sure you're familiar with Ahayu Prabowo from MUI, who suggests there should be blended financing when it comes to the ecology, because relying on corporations through their CSRs would be rather hopeless, right? And it's not the main intention of corporations to help the environment, right? Because that's not their main mission. But then you need these religious-based financial mechanisms which would help the cause for faith and ecology. I'd like your comments on that. Thank you.
Okay. I just want to say, I appreciate the beginning of your presentation because you gave some very concrete environmental issues, including waste, including things like this. A lot of times when we speak about environmental issues, we're looking at macro issues, which are very divisive. And if you look to the US, for instance, the issues of climate change really is very polarized. I mean, to the extent that it causes a big hurdle if you talk about micro issues, because even the issues of the things that you can see on the ground are discounted because of so many false prophecies when it comes to climate change and climate crises and things like this. It's to the point where if you are an evangelical or conservative Christian, you're seen as anti-climate. Again, maybe for good reason, because of some of the issues and politics that come with climate change issues. But what was interesting this last week as we participated in Unconference, climate issues are not something that polarizes Brazilians. Because they're dealing with deforestation. They're seeing issues in urban sprawl and things like this. What is the situation in Indonesia? Is it polarized now? Is it something that is becoming more polarized in terms of religious people? I think about the issues with Tambang now, the mining permits. Used to be, you know, most of these religious organizations were very green in terms of their outlook. But now that they get access to mining permits, it pushes them perhaps in the direction of profit and away from caring for or conservation, caring for the environment. So I just like your opinion, being that you were at the top.
Maybe one more. Oh, okay. Are you go ahead?
Depend on you. You're
Okay, so maybe I'll do first because you raise hand first. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I know.
Thank you, Rafael.
on gender affirmation.
Just introduce yourself.
Gender affirmation after me.
Oh yeah.
Thank you for sharing about the refusal of this group against MLKI, against the kepercayaan. Did you say that?
Later.
That MLKI are not involved. I mean, they're not willing to involve that you support, I mean, you surrender.
So I clarify first?
Yeah.
Or later?
Probably now because that is what I want to comment on.
Yeah. Because we engage the indigenous people at the time, so MLK actually part of the nations. The first one, with Aman, we have Aman, but also people from the Penghayat, from the local religious system, also happened there together at the complex of the Minister of and Environment at the time. And they happened. But after that, to make this organization run just smoothly in the beginning, so we try to just like lessen the problem of debates, whether the faith also engage the Penghayat or not. And at the time, some of the people say that we'll just base on the religions. The religions means the Sikhs. That's the problem at the time. I think I was the one who really as the problem makers. I mean, as the conflict people confront, a person confront them. Because for myself, that's also religion. That's because CRCS, and I was aware they are not CRCS. And this is so yeah, I need to see that the background about this because they represented the big national councils based on the religions, and I myself also represent the big council, but I was the alumni of CRCS. That really, what is it, interfere or doctrinize the way the way I see problems and reality. That's all happened from the big Musyawarah 2017, 2018, I think 2019. There was like a khusus of the dialogue and civilization. You remember, right? Yeah. How CCI was only the one who kepercayaan MLKI to be the member or the audience of that big musyawarah nasional. But they put, I have to click something. They put the MLKI as observer, not full audience, just observer. For myself, who fought for that, okay, this is a start. I couldn't just push more from this. So this is also happened to area of Indonesia. We need to see and somehow politics in the moral activities for fighting or the discriminated or the what is it, the normal ones.
I think my question is already answered.
Maybe go to better.
Thank you, Prophet Anshu.
The young generation.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want to point out. Because, okay, hello, my name is Sarah. I'm a student of CRCS. And I really am very impressed in how you actually brought up firmly on how the young generations are not on like a prioritized group when it comes to community movement in the environment, because that's actually one thing that I'm really also concerned about as the young generation, very young generation. And one thing that I wanted to ask is about the digital, what was called digital engagement that you previously mentioned. You mentioned about social media and everything, all that. But my question is more or less to what extent is it needed by either I or the overall movement to protect the rainforest? Because the idea of digitalizations these days are very complex, and it is moving in a very fast-paced movement, fast-paced progress. Also with the existence of ChatGPT, which has been taking like a quiet, always on the hot topic. When the forest fire happened recently in the US, a lot of people are like pointing into ChatGPT for using like a lot of water, which is actually really true, because apparently what makes AI different from other technologies is I heard from Mas Damar, who presented in the conference, that what makes it really significantly different from other technologies is how ChatGPT or like AI use a lot of water, which is which makes it into the debate whether the forest fire actually happened because the energy is being used a lot. Because when you generate one picture using AI, it actually you actually contributes to thousands of footprints. So I'm just curious to what extent does this digitalization that is expected to the next generation also, is to what extent if this needs to be pulled off, and what's your perspective on that? Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy, for this interesting presentation. The title of your presentation is a question. What can moral keepers do for this earth? I can also rephrase it. Can moral keepers do something for the earth? And I always like multiple choice questions. The answer is yes, no, or undecided. Let me give the background of my presentation. As you know, Faizan and I teach a course on religion and ecology, and you can see three positions in the debate. There are more, but let's sample three. There are scholars who are very optimistic, see all empirical evidence that, religions do a lot and very supportive and so on. There are people who are very critical, and there are people who are undecided. Where are you in this debate?
Okay, thank you very much. Maybe you want to start with answer? Yes, there are a lot.
Yeah, I hope I'll be saved by the bell. Okay, let's start from France because it's about the title of the presentation, right? If it is about the multiple choices, yes, they can, we can. No, They can't because they also have the source of problems, this and the others. I prefer the third one, but yes and no. In Indonesia, we have IPA. ABCD riots. We have it in Indonesia. ABCD, the D one or the last one is everything is fine. But in this kind, both, they can do both. They can do the problems, they can also contribute for the solving, the problem solving. Like the peace problem, yeah. The whether they are peacekeepers or the problem makers, they can do both. But myself, we try to enhance the other side of uh, their ability to contribute for them. The problem is the situation now. This is also an answer for data. We are in Indonesia, the situation now. This is my observation because I met with the local grassroots and the others. The problems that people are being ignorance with the problem of the environment. It doesn't happen just for the top leaders because they need money, position. They need like what is the last one? Recognition as important people and the others. It happened also in the grassroots. When we talk about corruption, because talking about destructing the environment is about also corruption on environment. Corruption is not just happening in the top leaders, governments, but also happening in the farmers when they have that kind of chance. The situation there in Indonesia, the poverty push them to find a shortcut in using or preserving or perceiving the environment for their needs. Why I say that? Because in many places, in Sumatra, in Kalimantan, the people who engage with the palm oil are not just the concession, also the small scale, the domestic scales farmers. They try to expand from 1 hectares, 2 hectares, 3 hectares when their business grows. So being pragmatic. When we talk about the polarized, about the global one, national and local one, about the water, about the prices of energy, about the forests and the others, I myself see that I differentiate the difference. Yes, the global north see this is very, critical. Situation is very critical. We need to do the emergency response for this. But the global south one, in Indonesia, for instance, they see that they still perceive that's only the agenda from the north. We're being worried about the future because the situation they are getting worse. We are still good, still better here. Why everything just imported there, exported there? But later on, they ask us to preserve the carbon, try to protect the oxygen. It's not fair when although they just send the money, the fund to us, to our country, but the fund game is not distributed well with the just dissemination for the development in society. Some of the people perceive still, including the indigenous people. The indigenous who are not really close to the NGOs, the alliance, something like that, they perceive the NGOs, government just the same. Although that's the environmental NGOs. They're more being like traumatic about the movement of the environments because people are just the same. Let's do that by ourselves. We fight for ourselves. This is the degradation of the constitution in Indonesia and the grassroots. We need the leadership, the focal points, the champions that we need to produce or stimulate in the local communities. This is, I think, also part of if you want to start programs by in the local one, try to produce or stimulating 2-3%, not all the communities, just to be the agencies, the agents of the change there. Try to also monitorize and evaluate them, not just like eat and run, like what we just discussed in our conference. Yeah, we have program, money, fun, just we lack of fun or end it, and then we just run it again. It causes the trauma in the society and create the pragmatic situation in the society. Polarization, they don't care about it, but they care about how to eat every day, how to make their children go to school, and how to make the ecosystem still sustain for the forever generation. I mean, for the future generations. And I'm sorry if I'm not answering all the what is the issues. And Mbak Zara, Bu Zara, Mbak Zara. Ini digital engagement. And yeah, if we talk about the intergeneration, we are done with that, right? It's final because our population or demography requires us to put that as important one. But what about the digital engagement? Those extent we still need, whether IRA Indonesia or the other organization, because digital engagement is one of the reality for the space of doing dialogue for people. I mean, that's also the reality. It's not virtual anymore. Virtual can be perceived as something not real, the virtual one. But digital means that's also the other reality. And nowadays, that's more real. That's more real than the daily life like this. That is why we need also to put our concentration, our concern, our agenda in this space for dialogue, interfaith dialogue, human, humanitarian dialogue, and ecological dialogue, and we have that kind of space. Why don't we try to make the good narrative for that kind of space? And the second one, because in Indonesia, no viral justice. If it's not viral, no action by the government and by the people. The digital engagement means that try to do the advocacy through this space. We build advocacy, not only the physical one, but also how to build also the algorithm of the advocacy. The algorithm of the advocacy. I think I already get the vibes to be this ICRS student. Naming things. Okay. And the third one is about the movement. No final justice, there is no change, and there is also movement without that kind of activities. You know, the dark Indonesia, yeah, and blue Indonesia, the one blue, the what is it? New Order, yeah, Prima Tanda, Harmoko, Time at the time, yeah. Or even Soekarno, yeah. Soekarno, yeah, Soekarno's era, the blue one. So it creates the movement. I think for based on our also activities, I mean research activities from ICRS and also National Council of Churches 2 years ago, that young people, they are interested in the issue of ecological justice rather than the freedom of religion and belief. Yeah, they are more concerned about it, although they are still just like speak out about it on digital space. But we also see that there are many groups, the young people groups already start building their campaign advocacy on the environmental issues. What is it? Our Pandawa 5? Pandawa 5. Wayang. Pandawara and Depok, we have the Ciliwung groups of people there. They don't just do the advocacy, they also try to make business on green situation. I mean, the sustainable movement, like they're building like ecotourism in their community spaces, and they also receive the what is it, the return, the finance from the activities. So it's just not about how to do the confrontation or speak up about it. We have also to think about how the young generation, the other also receive the benefits, benefits from the movement. Digital space created from the essence, from what again? Essence, yeah. Yeah. Monetize the movement through digital. So we need to also talk about the sustainability of the life and economy of the activists. I think that's we can also name again the others, but the last one, why I try to put Pak Diki as the last, because I'm trying to understand what the question is. Because it's very difficult. Okay, first, I need to clarify, Noza is not our donor, but now they are the country office that IRA Indonesia supposed to attach. The donor at the time is from the UNEP, and UNEP received the back donor from Norway government. And now, this is just happening. UNEP hand over, yeah, the leadership, I mean, what is it, the project leaders to the RFN, Rainforest Norway, to the global problem of the economy. Rainforest Norway, they are the top one from for the IRA program, global one, and Indonesia, Econosa now has been chosen as the focal point or the country office for the Indonesian IRA, something like that. And in terms of the sustainable financing, we also found ourselves also facing the problem like that. That's why I explained in the beginning that the leadership of the religious leaders are more how to influencing people, embracing people, educating people, but not how to earn money, collecting money, how to sustain the financing in their business or organization, sorry. And that is why also in the National Council, we also like ask for the professionals, finance and the other to join the organization. But in terms of the IRA Indonesia and maybe the other also platform, I think they are not really engaged in that kind of program, only for the sustainability of the council. Just like for how to get the endowment for the council, not for the specific program about the environment. So I haven't seen any organization, religious organization in Indonesia that put environment as specific and prioritize division or department in their program. Still, community is the program. Community is the top. People the top. The others just the issues. You know what I mean, right? Humanitarian, economics, ecology, what is the education, and the other. Those are issues. The main capital of us is people. That's why it's different from the NGO, environmental NGO or the other ministry from the government. And based on my experience with the IRI Brazil, I think from the 5 countries, Brazil, the national facilitator of IRI Brazil, I think is the best. I think in terms of the financing the organization, because he is not just depending on the Norway or is also bridging this platform to the open doors, to the Ford Foundation or the others. Because his basic is activists and NGOs person. So he's been working with many NGOs, and then based on that experience, he also tried to implement it on or in the IRI of Brazil. I learned from him because he also created many projects and related as the pipeline of the organization that he asked for funding. I think it's about the creativity of the leaders at the time. This is that we don't have because we are the religious leaders that happen we have a lack of background of the financing of the organizations. This is the obstacle, but I hope in the future we are going to change that. From the obstacles become opportunities for us.
Okay, next questions, maybe from Michael. Do you want to over question?
Well, I would like to, but I want to make sure another student asks a question.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
maybe there's one.
Very good.
Hmm? Any questions?
Thank you so much. Very interesting presentation. I guess my concern when I look at the slide referencing Kalimantan and Papua, both of these islands are suffering from what I might or others have called colonialism. And by focusing on religion and ecology, which I've done for much of my career, I sometimes wonder if I haven't added to the problem. Because religion gets colonized as well. So you say, oh, it's the problem of the environment is you're not worshipping faithfully enough, or you're not divinely moral enough. I mean, I was in Kalimantan last year. I visited a mega disaster food estate north of Banjarmasin, going for hundreds of miles, total destruction. It wasn't done by the people there, it was done by the government and private companies. The World Economic Forum likes to talk about public-private partnership, PPP. They think it's wonderful. My country, United Kingdom, we've been leading in this for many years. We give all the licenses to do all the activity of the government to private companies, open monopolies. So I'm not saying it's unique to Indonesia. This kind of corruption is global. But there is a danger when we focus, there is a danger that religion becomes a distraction from the real issue. We can talk about individual and people having too many children or driving their motorbikes too much or something like that. But if governments, as we can see here, are capable of continuing to wreck such large areas of the planet in the name of climate, we have to begin to face the possibility that the whole climate thing is a prerogative. It's fake. the real issue is not what we're told. I mean, if you cut down the forest of Borneo, yes, locally the climate will warm because you destroy the mechanism of bringing water from the sea to the clouds, raining, and eventually the rivers also disappear. It's nothing to do with CO2. It's it's government action. I lived before West Malaysia, before coming to Indonesia. I've seen the same thing in Sarawak and Sabah, palm oil, and they say, oh, we're going to put it on the motorbike and it's sustainable. Like they're going to say ethanol from sugarcane, in Papua, in the new project just announced by the Jakarta government. So I mean, I'm not, I guess, to the question, I guess my concern is that I have begun to feel when 20 years of my focus on religion and ecology has distracted from this issue of the deep corruption from government and companies. It's not about communist or capitalist. It happened in China, it happened in the West. That is the core partnership. To me, it's almost more like a spiritual issue, a moral issue. So principalities and powers, St. Paul called them, in high places. Anyway, I wonder whether you think, or have any comment on any of that. Thank you again for participating.
Okay. And also, Pak Jimmy, I have all questions actually. From your presentation, actually, about reviewing many things that many sectors that that is discussed for like the intergenerational political dynamics and about the people mobilizations. I would like to ask about, since there are many in your presentation about religious leaders and their activities for the socio-economic justice. Many of them are men. I would like to looking for where is the gender issue in this legal justice issue, because there are a lot many environmental movement are held by women. So are always do always the religious movement in area environmentalism always by men. That's it. That's it. Okay. Maybe another. Okay. Okay. Let's do it.
Perfect to add for you.
Terima kasih banyak, Jimmy, presentation, and I appreciate also you and also Bob Mike as well being open and honest of the limits of what religious leaders can do in this space, because it's often easy when we represent the community to say, we can be the solution, like religion can, and it's really, I appreciate you being open to say what's the limits of what religious leaders can do. But in this space, I want to ask then about, because your experience of what you've observed, have you seen any examples that you can share with us about movements, not necessarily within the church denomination, but within local churches, people who are trying to get their church to be more engaged on these issues, or to respond to deforestation, or companies capture that you described there. I think that would help inspire us as well with some examples. I know there are a lot, so maybe if you have any you can share with us within churches. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Pak.
Yeah. Pak Mike, yeah. Pak Mike, I do agree with yours. In the beginning, when I start the national movements, I feel that the religious communities or religions, let's say, were being instrumentalized whether it's positive one or negative one. Positive, because we have the same problem or the common drug, that is the problem of environmental crisis. Whether it's in the climate or local one or the other, but we have the kind of problem. It's already massive. Borneo, Sumatra, Papua, and the others. And it has like changed, like what is it? The domino effects. The domino effects also the other segments of the people, like women, children, the what is it? Old people, yeah, in English, the elders, yeah, the elders and the others has domino effects. Also create the poverty because there's like economic injustice. After being greedy, exploiting the nature and expanding the the territory, and we have been witnessing many communities have been excluded from their roots, from their ecosystems. In Sumatra, in Rempang, yeah, in Rio, Kepulauan Archipelagos, and Borneo, Papua, it's been happening until now. You're being excluded and excluded because the business people, they have the legal permit to do it. And this is the problem. When I try to observe this globally, nationally, locally, it's not just caused by the kind of business people or the local government or the national government. I found that, correct me if I'm wrong, there is another ruling class behind the curtain. Those are just like the peons, just like, the chiefs there. Yeah. Or is it peon? Peon?
Just the small actors, yeah.
Pawn. It's just pawn. But how Trump, or maybe just like that, it's not about Trump that create this kind of problem of economic crisis. That affect many people. Who is behind Trump? Who is behind the palm oil, like Wilmar, Sinarmas, and the others? I myself don't believe the Sembilan Naga really exists. They're just the players. But who is the ruling class people group? We don't know. Based on the books, films that I've seen, they could be because they are ruling class. We say that oligarch, but there is a supra oligarch that creates this, push this, the election until the grassroots one. Grassroots one is just the inferior, the last impact one. But the others, the policies and the other. From the other resource that I try to find out, that there is also a group that want to rule this earth as the global state. One of the effect is destructions everywhere to support this kind of global ruling class. Maybe it's just like a myth or just my dream or the other dreams, but it's never ending one part. What we need to do, how to deal with the victims. What we need to do, how to engage those people are vulnerable, being capable, being empowered to do the mobilization, to fight for their rights. But if we think about the global one, we cannot stop that problem. Try to do that from base the organization, the communities well. That's our point. That may create a massive movement. And another one from our beloved moderator. Gender is, yes, this is intersection issue too. In some places, like in Papua, that church is really seen as possible rather than NGO or government, the other sectors. Try to bring ourselves there, and we witness that the problem environment really caused the problem to the people. And most vulnerable one, dangerous one, are women and children. Many victims and what is it, refugees now in the forest of some women just like give deliver the baby during the way they try to find themselves and the others because of the conflicts among the militaries and also the business people there. The women and children are the one who are being most vulnerable one because the what is it, culture, weather, and also the need as the women that they have to deliver the baby and also to grow the babies and also the other factors. I'm not saying that women are more vulnerable than men, but this is because they have responsibility biologically, yeah, and to do that daily for themselves and also for their children. They need to nurture or to take care of. That happen. In some places also women, when the men who work for them couldn't do more, I mean to give like their to support their livelihood need from their livelihood from mining palm oil in the domestic level or scale, the women happen to be the what is it? The victims of the ADRT, domestic violence. 15 years living CR6. Domestic violence. Because the men asked for food, asked for this and this and the men couldn't support that to the women or for their lively life. And women get blamed men because they're more powerful, I mean, in terms of the physical or even in terms of their customary or traditions. That is why we try also to engage in the movement to bring together women as the leader or the leading unit or element in the movement. Although it doesn't happen well. Yeah, because you know the religious leaders are more men, right? If you see now at Nahdlatul Ulama already have some women or female leaders, but it's just rare one. But we couldn't find that, right? Including in church. Right now in church we have female pastors. Many in my church is about 60% female pastors, and the male only 40%. It's just like the situation in the religious communities. But in the national level, women usually just like being brought just for the affirmative action because we need a gender equality, composition, and the others, but they are not really reading. Once they get some answer or request by the forum leader, like Bapak say, you just follow what Bapak is, you just follow what Bapak is. Sometimes women also put themselves inferior one, although they are already on the same level. This is our aim together, how to empower them. Although it's already situated that for the quota, the composition already men and women equal, but how to put their perspective, their idea, their also agendas being equal also on the same table. That's how the agendas go in this movement. Pak Joe, the good examples that I may what is it give here. Maybe not many because due to the time, yeah. But my experience is one of the one because before I came there to the place, the society just what is it? They had trust with any people because the leader of the kampung, of the dusun and the desa, they just joined the business sector and also the corrupt local government. But when church happened there and I was there and I brought all the issues in sermon and also community discussion. And I also supported them by just some, yeah, logistic. I mean, just like sometimes just like, what is it, color of kind of clothes, something like that. Just to for a gimmick, yeah, gimmick like a running situation like that. So at the time, I myself believe that we change the grassroots ones. But we need to maintain that situation because after leaving those kampungs, years later, I heard that they're becoming the palm oil ones. They cut the trees also there, being pragmatic. We need leaderships. That's why what I mentioned before, we need to produce leaderships for provoking, advocating, maintaining the atmosphere of movement to preserve and sustain our ecosystems. And the other one, in North Sumatra, yeah, Toba Papua study, it was Indorayon. Indorayon until 90s, late 90s, 2000, when there was like a bleeding demonstration at the time. Some people got killed also, but it changed. It stopped the business for years. Yeah, although they did not have a popular study, but the communities there are still, are still committed to fight for their rights. It's about their life. But yeah, the role of church, like maybe like the priest, not really engaged one due to the leadership gains. And the other places, Moluccas, what is it? Save Aru.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Save Aru, Save Aru.
Yeah.
That's also initiated by church.
Yeah.
And Save Sangihe. 3 years ago, it was determined by government because the business one, they have legal permit to mining there. And the church and the other indigenous people, they work together, fight for that. They did campaign national and international. I was also joining that internationally at the WCC Sidang Raya. Sidang Raya. Sidang Raya. Congress.
Yeah, international.
Yeah, the global church meetings. Yeah, I was just like holding a big paper like this and Save Sangi in there, and we try to frame that in our media and also ask the other journalists, also the international one, to put that in their news and their campaign also. I think that's part of our success story. That is why the digital space is very important for us to bring the issue on the international, but also on the surface of the reality. So people know the fact, the truth that we need also to care about together as our agenda. Thank you.
Okay, give applause. Thank you very much for the presentation. So the class is over, and thank you very much for your presentation again. And before we close this Wednesday forum, maybe Anju, you can give a gift for Mas Jimmy. Okay. Robert Anju. It's a blasphemy. Is that blasphemy? Is it?
We thank you very much.
Thank you. Wow, nice.
Yeah, this express who we are to you. In
Green Park.
Okay. Thank you very much for attending this Thursday forum. This is also live streamed in YouTube. And for the next information about next week, the next speaker will be announced soon. So keep stand by. From our information through social media, Instagram, CRCS, and ICRS. See you.